John Laurinaitis out as head of talent relations. A former NXT superstar returns to New Japan for good. And plans for tonight's Forbidden Door changes. All this and more on this episode of Shot of Brew. Hey, what's going on, party people? It's your bro, Yellaboi, and I'm here for another episode of A Shot of Brew, where I bring you a shot of news that's happened in the world of wrestling for this week. Tonight is Forbidden Door, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door, so we will be watching that tonight. However, there will not be a live stream, but we will be bringing you a review tomorrow, so be looking out on YouTube for that live stream of the review. Also, you guys, please make sure, if you haven't already, to like, share, and subscribe. Click that notification bell so that you know whenever we're posting something new with the Shot of Brew, or when you have your 60-second sips from OHB over here, boy. But without further ado, let's get into these news, these brews, these shots. So, first off, we have John Laurinaitis being ousted as head of talent relations for now. So on Monday, June 20th, it was reported by Fightful.com that talent were notified that John Laurinaitis was currently on administrative leave, and as his role from head of talent relations, and that Bruce Pritchard, one of the three people that was joked that Vince McMahon only knows, is put on an interim basis as the head of talent relations. Now, while some talent had celebrated this, some of them were concerned that Bruce Pritchard, since he's also head of creative, would be tasked as doing both roles. The concern being that when talent needs time off, they would have to now ask the person who is effectively the filter between Vince and creative. So this is an interim role. Not sure if he's going to take this for the long term, but again, it's kind of a 50-50 on like them, love them, like them or leave them rather. So 50-50 on that, but it's going to be interesting to see what comes next and who's going to be taking that seat of power as this investigation goes on. It's to note that this previous Monday Night Raw, that Vince McMahon unannounced came out again just to give information that we already knew, announced that John Cena would be on Monday Night Raw for tomorrow, June 27th episode, and then dipped. So again, this is nothing more than him showing that he's not going anywhere and he's not intimidated by this investigation. So crazy stuff in the world of wrestling. But we move from a crazy old man who won't leave to a young man who has, and that will be Kushida, who returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So after 2 months since he'd requested his release in the WWE NXT, Kushida made his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling this past week. So the Wrestling Observer first broke the news. Uncle Dave at Wrestling Observer broke the news on Tuesday that Kushida had confronted the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Taiji Ishimori at Tuesday's New Japan Road event in Tokyo. So Kushida had announced there at that show that he had signed a brand new contract and he promised to spend the rest of his pro wrestling life in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So obviously he was not happy at his creative at WWE or NXT. He requested his release. It was granted, and he instantly went back to New Japan Pro Wrestling as a former junior heavyweight IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion himself, one of the most decorated junior heavyweight champions that New Japan had ever had. I think that it was a great decision. I know he enjoyed some of his time here in the States and he had moved his family over here. and I believe he's moved to Los Angeles, if I'm remembering the reports correctly. So that way he's able to fly out to Japan but still have his family here. So congrats to Kushida getting the heck out of that NXT 2.0. But from one New Japan wrestler being able to make a triumphant comeback, we move to changes in the Forbidden Door card. So after Wednesday, Bryan Danielson made his announcement that he would not be able to perform at tonight's Forbidden Door pay-per-view or Wednesday night's Blood and Guts special, and he would have a mystery opponent for Zack Sabre Jr. Now, and more about that will be later as far as that mystery opponent, but it was also reported, I believe, on Thursday or Friday that Tomohiro Ishii was also pulled from his spot in the card due to a knee injury. As you know, he was going into that four-way for the new All-Atlantic Championship that AEW has in that four-way championship match. And he's actually being replaced by young upstart Clark Connors. So that was two changes, but it looks like the hits keep on coming. As of yesterday, there was a report from New Japan Pro Wrestling themselves in a Twitter post that reported that Hiromu Takahashi, the ticking time bomb, would be not making the trip over here to America as he had a fever. So I believe that's part of that protocol for the pandemic. So he's unable to compete. So now the match will be a trios match with the Young Bucks and El Fantasmo, with Hikuleo in their corner representing Bullet Club, against Darby Allin, Sting, and Shingo Takagi, dudes with attitudes, which is still funny to me as far as that name. Either you can go back to WWF with Kevin Nash, I believe, and Shawn Michaels, or you can take it to a one-day stable with Sting and others in WCW. So dudes with attitudes, but funny still. But it seems like it's just another person added to a long list of performers in all promotions that are currently being injured. I'm not going to go through them, but this week you had Rhea Ripley being removed from the Money in the Bank. You had the previous two wrestlers from the Forbidden Door that I talked about, including Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, who will not be able to. And then, of course, the big name that's not able to perform at Forbidden Door tonight will be Kenny Omega. So even though it would be great to see Kenny Omega pop up, even if it's in a kind of speaking role where he's not participating in ring. So, but it's a 12 match card tonight, including the buy-in, which starts at 7 p.m. Central, or 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central time. So hopefully, as you're watching this, it's right before the time that you're going to watch Forbidden Door, if you are. If you're not, remember, you can check us out tomorrow. More on that later. Now, as far as Forbidden Door, and as I previously stated, Bryan Danielson needing a pinch hitter, I guess you would call it. Speculation is over the surprise entrant for the Blackpool Combat Club. Now, like I said, Bryan Danielson announced on Wednesday that he would need a person to take over for him in his match against Zack Sabre Jr. and also for his match on Blood and Guts on Wednesday. So there's been lots of speculation with rumors and fan speculation with the mystery opponent. Now, interesting names have been brought up, like Johnny Gargano, who's supposed to be in the Chicago area tonight for, I think, due to a convention. There's also been the name of Samoa Joe that has been brought up for the purpose of the Blood and Guts match. However, he hasn't been seen on AEW television. I believe he's actually recording some voiceover work. But the one big name that everyone's thinking that's going to participate in tonight's match against Zack Sabre Jr. will be Claudio Castagnoli, or the former Cesaro. Now, Cesaro hasn't been seen since he's been released from WWE. However, recent reports say that he had popped up and has been doing a lot of training over at Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze's Flatbacks Wrestling School in Florida. So Claudio may be the best out of the people who are suspected to take the place of Bryan Danielson, but we shall see what happens. Again, it's a long pay-per-view, but it looks like, for what it's worth, it's an interesting card. So we've moved through all of that, and we'll go to a final shot of brew. So I know you guys this week has had a lot of downers, and that's in the wrestling world and in the real world, especially over here in America. So I want to end with a bunch of good news, depending on how you look at it. I find it good news. So on Friday, June 24th, Impact Wrestling Knockout Giselle Shaw spoke with the San Francisco Chronicle and made an announcement, came out as transgender, which she reported that it was super scary, quote unquote, to open up about her true self, but she furthered that the more that she talks about and speaks out about her true self, the more it helps herself and others. Now, Impact exec Scott D'Amore has been throwing a lot of support Shaw's way and stated that her coming out would not affect her placement or treatment on the Knockouts roster. So on an IG post this past weekend, Shaw reported that she would be in the honored guest section at one of the biggest Pride parades. That's Pride Toronto, and that was today at 2 o'clock Eastern. So here at Bros, Brews, and Botches, we do not promote hate in any shape or size or whatever. So we want to just throw our support to Giselle Shaw for making a big step in her personal journey. And remember, you guys, to love each other, forget all the hate, and make sure that we're supporting one another in this crazy thing that we call a wrestling community. So that's it, you guys. That's the little shot of news that I had. Thank you again for joining in. If you haven't already, like I said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button so that you know when the bros are posting something new. Make sure you're following our social channels. Make sure you're following Bros, Brews, and Botches on our socials, which is IG, Instagram, which is bros_brews_and_botches on Instagram. Last night, if you joined us on Twitch, we had a little bit of gaming on Twitch. We did some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and then we followed up with some Jackbox. So we do that once a month. So come and follow us on Twitch, Bros, Brews, and Botches. Follow myself on Twitter at Badass Yellaboi, and that's BAD_YELLABOI. Follow Over Here Boy on all socials, including Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at Over Here Boy, all one word. Follow Hogzwars at wamplersausage.com. We're gonna get you that sponsorship from Wamplers, brother. So follow him at wamplers.com because they got some darn good sausage and it does not suck. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I hope if you're watching Forbidden Door tonight that you enjoy the show. Remember, tomorrow around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be putting on a review show for tonight's Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Check us out, see what you think. Again, comment, share, talk to your friends, tell them about the good word of Bros, Brews, and Botches and the things that we do here. So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, there will not be a shot of brew. for the holiday weekend, so I apologize. Well, I will be going out of town, so no Shot of Brew, but the weekend after, I will try to make it up to you guys. However, that's it. Thank you. Make sure you're spreading love, not hate. Love each other, especially in this world of wrestling, you guys. Until next time, peace.